Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz with yours truly, Danny O'Malia, Indy's Trusted Servant. What's Indy's Trusted Servant? Well, I do customer service training and keynote speaking about customer service. It's all about the culture of the organization. I learned all of that at the hand of the master, my late father, Joe O'Malia, back in the O'Malia Food Market days, but even before that, when Joe O'Malia owned a small grocery store in Broad Ripple, where the Vanguard Bar is now on Guilford, a store he lost when I was about, 8 or 9 years old, and he came back 10 years later and successfully launched O'Malia Food Markets in 1966, and one of the things I learned from him was never, ever, ever give up. At any rate, if you're interested in finding out more about my customer service training and keynote speaking, give me a call at 317-413-9062. What's the Indy's Trusted Servant Show on InspireSmall.biz? I like to describe it as lively local small biz and community talk. And today, my guest is, and he had been on my radio show previously, but a long time ago, James Belt of Fabric Care Dry Cleaners. Now, Fabric Care Dry Cleaners, I'm a customer of theirs. They're a client of mine. I have spoken to the staff at Fabric Care Dry Cleaners, and I believe you guys are more than 60 years old, right, James?
Yes, so we were founded in 1960.
And I remember coming to your 60th anniversary gig a couple of years ago. But first, tell us about James Belt, then we'll get into the dry cleaning business. Give us a little bit about your background, James, and how you got to Indy and how you got in the dry cleaning business.
How we got to Indy? Well, my father was an American serviceman, and after doing his service in Vietnam, he was at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and he was a helicopter mechanic. There were two jobs available to him. One was in Chicago, one was in Atlanta. We hooked up our trailer and drove to Chicago and found out they gave the job to someone. And on the way back to Atlanta to see the other job, we ran out of money in Indianapolis, and we've been here ever since.
Is that right?
Yeah,
now, your father, was he still in the service at the time?
In 1970, he was just out of the service.
Just out of the service. Okay. You ran out of money in Indianapolis, and your mom and dad stopped here.
They stopped here.
How did they meet?
My father was the personal courier to the American ambassador in Greece.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's
in
pretty cool.
1964. And so his job was to carry things to people. He had a Greek driver, and there's a lot of stories that could be told on that, but we don't have time for that. He actually pulled into a dry cleaners in Kifissia, Greece, and met my mother's cousin, who he would try to date, and she didn't want to deal with him, but she introduced him to my mother.
Okay.
Greece in 1960 was still a very poor place, and my mother wanted to get out of that world, and so she married my dad without permission of her father.
Whoa!
And went to tell her father that she's leaving, and she's pregnant, and she's already married my dad, and he gave her his blessings and threw a wedding for her, and she got married again.
Wonderful.
And
that's a better ending than I expected.
No, and so they ended up in the States, and then because he married her, he lost his security clearance and had to go to Vietnam to continue his military career.
Interesting.
And after being the only survivor of his unit, he decided Vietnam was enough for him.
Okay, and this would what year?
1970s when he left.
And you were how old at that time?
I was 3 years old.
3 years old.
4 years old.
Okay. So so your dad and mom are stuck in Indianapolis, right? What year is that?
1970, I believe. I've never gotten the exact date told to me, but we actually met the Prionis family. They're one of the first Greek families we met. We moved to the west side, not far from where our plant is now.
Yep.
My father got work repairing dry cleaning machines, and our families became so close that in 1971, when my sister was born, the Kiki Prionis became the godmother, along with her daughter, to my sister.
We should tell our viewers that Tom Prionis is the owner of Fabric Care.
Yes,
right.
And so the Prionis family still own it.
Is that second or third generation?
He's second.
He's second generation. Okay. Yes. So you got involved with Fabric Care because your dad was fixing their dry cleaning machines.
Right, and they when this is something kind of true with immigrants. People who come together to this country seem to form bonds because you don't have the extended family. My nearest relatives, once we decided to stay in Indianapolis, were 800, 900 miles away in Florida or in Greece.
So that became your family, right?
I refer to her as aunt. I don't refer to her as Kiki.
Yeah. So is she Tom Prionis's wife? Mother. Tom Prionis's mother. And Tom Prionis is the owner of Fabricare, which, as we already established, is a 62-year-old dry cleaning establishment on the west side of Indianapolis at, what's the address?
5760 West Morris. But don't let that fool you. We have 5 other locations in the suburbs, as well as one downtown. And what is more interesting about Fabricare is we serve over 2,000 people from Lafayette, Indiana to Bloomington.
Including me.
Including Danny. We serve a lot of people from, Indy's Fortune 500 to people who live in the poorest neighborhoods. We don't discriminate on who we service. We service everybody in between.
Now, Fabricare at your plant there on Morris Street, which is basically West Washington and the interstate, pretty close, right?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty close if you're not familiar with that. You also have a physical dry cleaning service there where people can come and do their dry cleaning.
Well,
right?
we have over 80.
I mean their laundry.
Right. We have a laundromat, about 80 some machines in there.
Yeah, big laundromat. So that's part of the business, right?
Yes.
What percentage of the business is done in that laundromat? I take it it's a fairly small
Well, that's
percentage.
a difficult question to answer because we have a laundromat where the public gets to use. We also use that laundromat doing commercial business. So in that laundromat, we did 5 tons of laundry for March Madness. When March Madness was in town, the city was a little unprepared.
Well, how could they have been prepared, right?
Right. No one expected the teams to come to Indianapolis with dirty laundry. Teams usually always travel with clean laundry. But they came from one tournament straight to Indianapolis, bypassing home. And so everyone was unprepared with the fact that they needed their laundry done.
Was this the COVID year when the whole tournament was played
Right here in Indianapolis.
right around Indianapolis,
Correct.
right? Yeah.
And so we jumped into action once we got permission from the city because the contract was actually given to 3 other dry cleaners in town. Even though we were used to advise on how to set up for it and all that. And when we asked the city permission, they said, we can't get to it, you get to it, because they were preparing for Thursday to start, not on Monday. So we immediately jumped into staff calling our mothers and friends and relatives. And we now call these people our Mother's Brigade because many of them have stayed on with us. But these people came in. We got whatever we brought in on Monday was out on Monday. Whatever came in on Tuesday was out on Tuesday.
So you did all 64?
No, we only took care of 37 teams.
37 teams.
You have to keep in mind, the city did 13 tons of laundry through March Madness. Okay, and they had a setup, but only these teams who contacted us, we took care of. The issue was the city wasn't prepared to get started till the tournament got going, because the thought was teams would come with clean laundry.
Now this is a really deep in the woods question, and I'm a huge fan of March Madness and everything.
Of course.
Why did they come with dirty laundry? Because they came straight from their conference tournaments?
Correct.
Instead of going back to campus.
Right? And getting a new turn.
Yeah, because that was just a one-off. That never happened
I don't think
again.
it'll ever happen again.
Hopefully, it wouldn't happen again. Now this is a good question, and I really want to get into the nuts and bolts of Fabricare. And they are, I got to tell you folks, my favorite James Belt and Fabricare story. James calls me one day, this is years ago, and says one of my favorite shirts, which my wife had purchased for me at Brooks Brothers or Nordstrom or someplace fairly expensive. I couldn't see it, but there was a little fray in the back collar, and he told me that he had cut off the collar, turned it around, and I would get 5 more years or so out of it, and I did.
Right. The average life of a shirt is about 30 wearings, okay?
Really?
That's according to the Manufacturers Association on shirts.
Holy moly.
Okay? And so your shirt, like you're wearing now, is a button-down shirt.
Yeah.
The shirt I'm wearing has no buttons. That shirt can be flipped over, taken off and flipped over, and so now you get all the same materials on the other side that was on this side. Now this shirt can't because it's got little collar stays in there.
Yeah.
But it just extends the life of a shirt if it can be done.
But the point, folks, is that James not only fixed the shirt, but he called me to tell me he did it, or I never would have known it. That's great communication. That's great culture. And Fabric Care is really good at that.
Well, our philosophy, yes, everybody wants the new customer that comes in, but our philosophy is to be loyal to our customers. So we give our rewards to our customers. We give them all the benefits. We send, like, we give you a Christmas gift at Christmas time,
Which we'll talk about a little bit later, okay?
Right.
We'll get that in. But as an example of how that works, and I just left the networking thing where people were talking about referrals, because I was happy with James. I told my son-in-law, who's a financial advisor and has to dress up every day, about Fabric Care, and he's been a Fabric Care customer ever since. So let's talk about the growth of Fabric Care. It was founded by Tom Prionis' father, 1920, right?
1960.
1960, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
62 years, right. And at first it was just the plant in Morris Street, right?
Correct. And
Right.
that way until about 14 years ago.
And then you started adding locations. Where are your other locations?
Our first location we added was downtown Indy on Market Street, 151 East Market Street. There's a parking garage there. You get free parking in the garage when you go to that store. It's right between the Circle and City County building.
Great location and free parking downtown, folks. Think
Yeah.
about that.
And our second one was Brownsburg. A company went out of business, and we were going one direction, and we decided to just go into the store and create a store there. Third was Mooresville, Martinsville, and Greenwood, which we have since closed, Greenwood. And then we added Plainfield
Wow.
when Tuckman went out of business.
Okay. Tuckman was, for those of you who are new to the city, was probably the biggest dry cleaner in Indianapolis
For a long time.
for a very, very long time. So talk about the dry cleaning business and what the challenges are and what's unique about Fabric Care, aside from the extra special service I just described.
Well, the most unique thing about any business in Fabric Care is the customer service. So what you described is what is different from us from everybody else. Taking the extra step, trying to do the right thing when things go wrong or things need to go right. So the most, as you talk about network, I do a lot of network marketing, and the most compliment that I got one day was a guy who ran up to me at a networking event and says, "I need to see you." He goes, "I put my change in my pants and they didn't hit the ground.
Okay.
Thank you." And that was the best compliment I've ever gotten.
That's a good one. So,
because we had found there was a
in
hole
a
in his
pocket.
pocket, and we sewed the hole closed.
and
We
again,
didn't tell him, we didn't ask it, we just took care of it.
by the way, the extra step of telling me was extra special. Okay. Of course, we're friends and we communicate a lot, but that was really cool. Another little thing that Fabric Care does, I wish I had a visual on this, but if you send something in and they can't get the stain out, they put a little tag on your shirt, pants, whatever it is, and say, "We did everything we could." It doesn't say this, but you might as well throw this sucker away, right?
Well, it doesn't.
That's good communications.
Think of your dry cleaner as like your doctor. If you go see your doctor and you tell him you're sick, he gives you the answer to the most common disease that's there right now. So you give the symptoms of COVID, he'll tell you have COVID, and you might do a test, or he might just tell you it's a thing. The same thing a dry cleaner. They're going to try to treat for the most common solution to the problem that does the least amount of harm to the garment.
Yeah,
Okay,
makes
so we
sense.
give you that. So if you want us to keep going further, we have a chance to talk to you now to say, okay, we can get that stain out possibly. We need to do some soaking. We need to do some non-traditional medicine. And, if we damage it because, it's kind of like how the doctor says, if the patient dies because we tried something,
Don't sue me.
don't sue me. Well, we're the same thing. When we hold your clothes, we carry a liability. And that's why people don't realize is, we're trying to take responsibility and do the right thing. Many of these dry cleaners want to be how cheap they can be, but if you read their fine print, they don't take a lot of liability if something goes wrong.
And they don't take the personal care
Correct.
that you guys give.
Labor is expensive, and labor is the biggest part of every item we're taking care of. We are blessed that we came through COVID with practically the best members of our staff.
That I was going to come to the employment part of this. Let's talk about that a little bit. How many total employees does Fabric Care have?
Under 50.
Under 50, with all those sites still under
Correct.
50. That's pretty remarkable. That includes your drivers?
Includes our drivers. We have 9 drivers running around the city at any given time. We actually put them in double shifts. I have a team of morning drivers, and I have a team of evening drivers.
And a lot of big percentage of these people, these 50 people, have been with you a while, right?
Right. We were just, our employees that don't see this in then, but they'll have gotten their Christmas bonus by then. Tom was just commenting, out of all our members, we only have 11 new members of our team through the whole year. So if you think about turnover and the problem of people, to think that we have been able to keep all of our customers happy to stay, all of our employees to stay, that's pretty good, something to say about our team.
That's something to say about your team and your culture. Mm-hmm. And again, the fact that you brought me in years ago to talk to the staff, that's a culture thing, right? And so you and Tom together have built this really, really, and let's face it, going to work at a dry cleaner isn't exactly something people aspire to, when they go to college and so on and so forth.
The employment at Fabric Care was predicted 30 years ago by a gentleman named Tom Mavris. And if you're an old timer in this business, you may remember that name. He used to own Top Hat Formal Wear.
I used to rent tuxes from them for my proms.
So when he owned Top Hat Formal Wear, I worked for him. I ran his wholesale division. And there's some more stories in that, which I won't get into, but he predicted one day that Tom and me would be working together at the dry cleaners. And that, I went and did other things and came back. And what happened was before 2008's
the crash,
I saw it coming. And I was in the printing business, and I could see the future was not bright. And my wife and I wanted to have more children, and there was just no way I could make the books work. And Tom's uncle decided he wanted to leave the company and start his own dry cleaners. And so there was an opening. And so Tom recruited me, and it took him quite a few months of discussion, and we found a way to work. And I came to work on September 11th of that year.
Of 2006?
Of 2006, yes.
Okay.
And, I walked in, and he go, "What's my title?" And he goes, "Well, you can make it whatever you want to be. You just can't be president or general manager."
Okay.
And so I am who I am from that.
And basically, you're sales and customer service, right?
I am the person I used to say I was the person who put the finger in the dike. We have someone to do that right now. I'm behind her in case she can't put the finger in the other dikes.
Okay.
So it's whatever the company needs me to do. I primarily focus on logistics for my route services and all the different customers. I work on getting new customers. I work on acquisitions. We've done 17 acquisitions in 16 years. So we acquire, there's still a lot of consolidation to be happen in the dry cleaning industry.
Sure, yeah. So one of the things that I have found interesting as our relationship has evolved, and I don't know exactly when this started, but you will send me an email every time, and let's see, the dry cleaning is picked up at my house on Tuesdays and Fridays, right? And do you have anything to pick up? If you're a customer of Fabric Care and a reliable customer, you'll answer that yes or no.
Correct.
So that the driver doesn't have to go by a house that has nothing to pick up.
Correct. It made us, when we switched to this system, it's called SMRT for any dry cleaning competitors who would like to move. And there's several competitors of ours that have used it now in Indy. It's a very interactive software, so you can see what you sent us, and if I deliver your clothes, you think something's missing, you can actually go into your, and it's from that text you received from us. There's a portal entrance at the bottom of it. You tap it, you go right into your account. You can pay your bill online. You can see what you sent us. If you're looking for that red sweater because you happen to be meeting Bobby Knight today, even though you would probably roll over, because I know you're a what do you call it fan?
Xavier fan.
Xavier fan.
Yes, yes.
So the joke is, you can go into our system and you can see the last time you sent us a red sweater. And you can then contact me, and I can tell you what it was packaged next to. And maybe I need to tell you, go look in your wife's closet next to her pink dress. That's where your red sweater is.
With it. Yeah.
And so many times we find...
Good. Again, let's go back to communication and the extra effort that it takes.
And that's one reason we bought this software. It's very expensive, but it keeps us connected with our customers. I was just sending out notices to my will call customers, people I haven't seen in a year. And
yeah,
I am very surprised at the response rate I'm getting, very high.
Well, and I'm one of those because I'm not dressing up as much as I used to, although it's starting to pick up a little bit, with the networking and so on and so forth. So the good communications, again, good customer service, good culture. What are, before we get into your Christmas gift, okay, what are the big challenges in your business other than competition?
I think the greatest challenge is adapting to the needs of our customers. Dry cleaning, we all want to use that dry cleaning machine. And even though we wash more than 50% of the garments because we read the care label inside every garment that comes.
Okay, that's
and
great.
Then we use the barcode that we put in your clothing to help us do it over and over again to treat the clothes the same way. Wash and fold in commercial laundry has been the high growth for us. So remember March Madness, I brought it up?
Yeah.
When March Madness happened, we had one laundromat person. One person who washed and dried clothes all day long and folded them. Okay? Now we have 5.
Okay.
And people say, what about finding help? Well, these are all senior citizens. These are all people, most of these people
they've
I
retired.
call them our mother's brigade. They retired from a life, and they wanted to get out of the house and be busy.
At O'Malley's, we had senior citizens, the same deal.
I have drivers who are senior citizens, and they're great workers. They come into work every day. They don't like computers so much, but that's been kind of the biggest secret and the biggest challenge. So we got the labor problem solved. We have all the latest technology in cleaning, so we're not using perchloroethane. We're environmentally sound. We're almost, everything's great on the environmental side. The biggest change is adapting your staff to understand that dry cleaning, and until people start appreciating the clothing they have, and they stop wearing the cheap stuff from China, which, by the way, is the next environmental issue that's coming around the bend. Because
interesting,
I was just talking to our environmental representative that says the EPA is not so worried about dry cleaners anymore because you guys all switched. They're worried about something called PFAS, and PFAS is you get a what do you call it? A wrinkle-free shirt.
Yeah.
It has PFAS on it. These are chemicals put on there so it'll be wrinkle-free.
Yeah.
That never break down, and the government's kind of highly worried about them. Okay.
Something we didn't know.
Or you are getting a raincoat made so it doesn't stain resistant or waterproofing. The waterproofing chemical in raincoats is a PFAS.
Okay.
So you'll find dry cleaners now will not waterproof your raincoat anymore. And actually, they can't because they can't buy the chemicals anymore.
Okay.
Unless they still have left over from whatever. But the point is, the irony is the dry cleaners aren't the worry now. The worry now is the manufacturer who made the clothes, who put a chemical on it to keep the bugs and things off of it.
Okay.
That now gets into our system, which is already in, So the question is, where is that going? What does that mean? I'm sorry to get into environmental issues.
That's something that you wouldn't think of, but there's always new challenges in business, and some of them come from God knows where,
Yes.
the outside, and that's an interesting aspect of all of this. What about the fact that so many people aren't wearing coats and ties anymore?
Well, that hurts us. I'm trying to accept that part of it and move on to what we can do.
Yeah, you can't do much about it.
The new fabrics are a challenge. This spandex. The guy brought me a spandex suit, and it's like, it has all these labels saying, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And then he wonders why he's having problems with it. But it's what it is. So it's the materials we really need to go back to what's tried and true. A wool jacket is actually better for the environment than the polyester in the spandex. Cotton is a natural fabric that replenishes with your. Yes, we have to put fertilizer in the ground, but it's grown and it's redone and it's more environmentally.
Well, nobody
friendly.
thinks of that when they go to buy clothes.
No, we want to buy. We want to buy a $20 pair of pants. I mean, I was just calling some of my competitors in the market and asking, "What do you charge for hem?" Well, when it costs $20 to hem a pants, and you're paying $20 for the pants, why don't you buy a pants at the right size? Now I'm losing my hem customer, but the challenge is the price of our labor to do things and the price of making the clothes is way out of whack.
It is. I can understand that. So we're getting close on time. What's your big Christmas offer?
Well, I came with gifts today. If you go to our website, fabriccarecenter.com, and set up an account with us today, you'll get a $10 credit on your account. And to not put our regular customers out of whack who listen to this, if they go today and send me a text or go log into their computer system through that text we sent you and send me a text saying, "Hey, I saw you on Danny O'Malley's show," I'll go in and put a $10 credit in for you. So just for listening, you got paid.
Just for watching, you got paid.
That's right.
And listening.
Sorry, I remember the video.
This goes way back, but remember when Sports Illustrated started offering new customers a discount but didn't do anything for their existing customers? Well, my guess is they lost a lot of existing customers out of that.
For a day or two, at least.
Yeah, so that's great. You continue to think about your existing customers. Do you want to give any other contact information, website or phone number or anything like that?
Well, this is what makes me different from all my competitors.
Yeah?
This phone number is put on all of our publishing. When there was Yellow Pages, it was the biggest number in the Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
It's on our website. It's on every piece of marketing material. It's 317-224-3212. That's my personal cell phone.
It is.
I'm not afraid for you to call me. Matter of fact, I want you to call me. And the reason we give it to you is if there's an issue, we want to take care of it. What better way for customer service than go right to management? Because if you call our main plant or any of our stores, they don't have all the answers. They barely have some answers. They only have what they have in front of them.
That's great.
But if you need someone to research to figure out what's really happening and give you a straight answer, then call me.
James Belt, Fabric Care Dry
Hey, it's
Cleaner.
always a
My
pleasure,
friend,
Danny. Thank you so
client,
much.
and customer, right?
Yes.
Next week, Indy, I guess, famous Indy radio, TV, and print guy Dick Wolfsey will be our guest. We'll see you then.